I often talk about how reactionary boxing fans tend to be. There's very often no middle ground. There are no shades of gray. In the mind of the average boxing fan, it's all black and white. An example being a fighter is either the real deal or he's a hype job. There's no in between in the minds of most boxing fans. And the old adage that you're only as good as your last fight. So, but prior to Canelo losing to Dimitri Bivol, he knocked out Caleb Plant in an undisputed fight at 168. He's talking about stepping up and facing Usyk. He's talking about fighting at heavyweight. He's got all types of ambitions. The cruiserweight title against Makabu, so on and so forth. There were lots of people in the boxing fraternity, lots of well-known fighters, great fighters of the past, who are coming out saying that they can't see anybody beating Canelo right now. There were several prominent old school pros saying they can see Canelo moving up to 175 and cleaning that division out too. They don't see anybody who could stop him. So he's gone from that, pound for pound number one in most people's eyes, to dropping all the way down the pound for pound list. And to be fair, when I say pound for pound list, I'm talking about the Ring Magazine pound for pound. And Ring Magazine is, to my knowledge, still owned by Oscar De La Hoya. And he's got just a little bit of a grudge against Canelo Alvarez since Canelo left him and said some less than complimentary things about him. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to that, but the general consensus out there after the Canelo lost to Bivol is that, oh, Canelo's always been overrated. He's had so many gift decisions and people were just going over the top. They were going overboard as far as I'm concerned. Canelo Alvarez is still a fantastic fighter. And by denigrating him, you're actually denigrating Dimitri Bivol's win. That's something I really don't understand, but boxing fans do this all the time. They're very reactionary, and again, there's no gray area. It's either the guy is the real deal and an all-time great, or he's just overrated and he's always been protected. Do you know what I mean? There's no middle ground with these people, which I always find ridiculous. Anyway, Canelo Alvarez said, the truth is, I don't know how they handle that kind of thing. And he's talking about the pound for pound rankings. But he says, I feel I'm still the best. Tell me another fighter who is trying in other categories, going down and up in weight, wanting to achieve different kinds of things. Nobody has done that. I do it. I risk everything to keep making history when I don't need to risk anything. I've already achieved so many things. I'm in a position where I don't have to risk anything and I still do it. And nobody does that when they are in a position like the one I'm in. So personally, I still feel I'm the best in the world. Goes on to say, I'm going to try again for sure. And he's talking about the Bivol rematch. I'm a very competitive person and very persevering. I tried to gain weight and win this championship, but we didn't make it. But we are going to try again. Only that for a second fight, I would look to be in much better physical condition, prepare myself for the 12 rounds. A different strategy to the one I used with my opponents at 168 pounds. You learn from everything. I tried new things and it didn't work, but now we have a new guideline for what's coming. All right, so those are the words of Canelo. And I know some people are going to be scratching their heads at what he said regarding being in much better physical condition for the Dimitri Bivol rematch. I mean, isn't Canelo a gym rat? Isn't he always in great physical condition? What can he do more for a Bivol rematch to have improved stamina? Hasn't Canelo always had a bit of a stamina issue? And stamina isn't just a physical thing, but it's also a mental thing. Because when you're unable to put a dent in your opponent, when you're throwing your best shots at him and he's blocking them, taking them, and then he's coming back with combinations, all of a sudden, tiredness starts to creep in a lot quicker. It's a mental thing as much as it is a physical thing, particularly in a boxing ring. So, I guess the point I'm making is, can Canelo really make a difference doing extra training? Isn't it a thing where the stamina is going to be dependent on, or at least partly dependent on, the success he has in the ring against Bivol in the rematch? All remains to be seen, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What I do want to say is I support what Canelo says with regards to striving for greatness, taking risks. It's easy to hate the successful guy. It's easy to hate the guy who has had the red carpet treatment from various sanctioning bodies, from judges, sometimes referees, and so on. Yeah, I get that. But at the end of the day, he still doesn't have to take the risks that he's taking. Some people are saying, well, he's only taking those risks because he knows he has all this protection and all this favoritism. Be that as it may, look what happened against Dmitry Bivol. He lost. Do you know what I mean? So they are genuine risks that he's taking. Even though he may have the favor of judges and all this kind of thing, when you go up enough weight classes, you're going to meet somebody who is going to be so much bigger, and there's going to be the right combination of size and skill that they have over you. You won't be able to overcome it. That's what Canelo encountered against Bivol, and that was inevitable the further he moved up in weight. I feel like he could have beaten Makabu. I still feel like he can beat Makabu now. If you go back and look at my old videos, I was saying that I think the light heavyweight elite are better than Makabu. I think they're more dangerous fights for Canelo than the Makabu fight is. I stand by that now, but there are, of course, other people at cruiserweight who I think are a huge threat to Canelo. I did then, and I certainly do now. And so if Canelo didn't hit his ceiling, so to speak, at light heavyweight, he, in my view, would have hit it at cruiserweight. So this is what happens when you keep on striving for greatness and you want to push your ability to its absolute limits. You want to find out how good you are. Do you know what I mean? Now, one thing to note about Canelo Alvarez is that when he lost to Floyd Mayweather, that was his first professional loss, that really lit a fire underneath him because he came back with a vengeance after that Mayweather loss. He was taking risks. He was fighting people that other people didn't want to fight, and he showed tremendous improvement. Even though he had some questionable decisions, you saw the improvement because naturally, Canelo isn't really a pressure fighter. You go back and watch his early fights at welterweight and even 154 pounds, his tendency was to back up and counter. That's what he actually prefers. And in fact, that's what we saw in the Bivol fight. You see, when the going gets tough, fighters usually revert back to their natural style, right? To the style that comes most naturally to them. What did Canelo do against Bivol? He stopped coming forward, he started backing up, and he was looking for counters. That is actually what Canelo is at his core. He's a guy that he likes you to come to him, and he likes to counter you. He's not a natural pressure fighter, which again, to me, is why we have to give Canelo so much credit, because he's actually outside of his comfort zone in terms of the style that he's implemented over the past few years. This guy's not a natural pressure fighter. Yeah? He's had to teach himself those skills because of the fact that he lacks height, doesn't have the longest arms. Yeah? So he's had to become a pressure fighter even though it doesn't come naturally to him or isn't as natural to him as counterpunching on the back foot. So yeah, he improved his pressure fighting skills, his ability to cut off the ring, the head movement. I mean, you look at the Danny Jacobs fight, fantastic head movement from Canelo Alvarez. So yeah, I think that Canelo, although he has had some questionable decisions go his way, I think that he deserves a lot of credit for the improvement, for the risks that he's taken. Yeah, I know he ducked Golovkin for a long time before eventually fighting him, but he did eventually fight him. All right. So I think he deserves credit as well as the criticism I've given him in the past, right? No fighter is below praise and no fighter is above criticism in my book. But again, no fighter is below praise. People acting like there's nothing to praise Canelo about. Are you mad? This guy is taking risks that other people in boxing don't take. Yeah, that's just facts. What's Charlo doing? Is Errol Spence taking risks on the level of a Canelo? I mean, I guess you could argue about Crawford because he's moved up several weight divisions, but it's not the norm to do what Canelo's doing, particularly when you're in his position. You're a cash cow fighter. Just like he said, he doesn't need to move up loads of different weight divisions. He could just jam in one division, right? 168. Make that his division, just bring people down to his weight and fight them at catch weights. Do you know what I mean? He could do all that if he wanted to. But no, he stepped up to 175, no catch weights, nothing like that. You got to respect it. And the fact that he still believes he's the best, he's looking at it from a pound for pound perspective, right? He's obviously not the best light heavyweight, but that's not how pound for pound works. Do you know what I mean? So he feels like pound for pound overall, he's still the best fighter. I like that he seemingly has retained that confidence and that self-belief, and hopefully it serves him well in the Gennady Golovkin trilogy fight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you, like me, think some people, or a lot of people, have gone overboard in their criticism of Canelo since he lost to Bivol? Or do you think that it's perfectly fair, the stuff they're saying, and that Canelo's always been overrated? Let me know what you think.